Welcome to Gaikoku Gamers. I'm Darryl Benson, and we're here to talk to you guys today about Windows and Microsoft's big reveal. And this is to do with gaming, most importantly, but also via the PC. And there's been some really interesting stuff, some very exciting stuff that's been revealed to us today that I think really needs to be talked about. And it could change how gaming and a lot of things really in the computer world are going to be going from here on out. First thing I want to talk about is obviously the HoloLens. The HoloLens is the new device that kind of looks like a pair of safety glasses or something like that that you'd use for like woodworking. Not the ones that go on a cheap, but just the ones that rest on your nose. And it basically creates like an alternate reality type of vision on the glasses no matter where you look. And what's really cool about that is that you can do things like run your television through it, reposition it, open apps. You can even do 3D modeling. And they showed something that was kind of like Iron Man, where they had like a complex 3D model and you're pulling vertices and you're doing that, and it'll connect to 3D printers and you can print whatever you see and whatever you scan. And they were showing how like you can go ahead and have like someone trying to help you do something, and it'll show like arrows going around a pipe. Oh, you turn it that way. Little things like that. Just think about how awesome that is. Number one. Think about you'll be able to wash like fruit at your kitchen sink, and you'll be able to go ahead and have like YouTube up as if there's a TV there and watch as your hands are wet. You wouldn't actually be touching any device. You wouldn't be worrying about, potentially getting anything wet, shorting anything out. It's just wherever you are. It has built-in sound, so it has a volume control, so you don't have to even worry about having like a sound bar. You can literally get rid of your television. It's pretty cool. What I find most entertaining about all this, though, is that you need to have Windows 10. Windows 10 is the new Windows. For whatever reason, they're skipping 9. Microsoft's official reasoning for this is at 789. Anyway, as stupid as the name is, and there have been lots of things in the consumer, electronics consumer world that's been pretty stupidly named, Wii and Wii U. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It more matters what it does, And Windows 10, first off, is free. Now, the reason why that's important is that if you own a copy of Windows 8, 8.1, or 7, you'll be able to download Windows 10 for free. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to get everyone on the same page. They're trying to get everyone to go ahead and convert to Windows 10. And the reason why is because there's a whole feature list that's going to be coming out when that happens. Number one, their glasses are going to go ahead and work with this with Windows 10, and that's going to be phenomenal. And it's not even just the trailer that they showed, and this thing's coming out this year. It's not even the trailer that they showed, which is impressive. They actually have real-life demos on the stage. So they had a guy, he designed a quick little quadcopter right there in virtual reality, well, not virtual reality, but augmented reality on stage, printed the parts and assembled it, and it flew, and it worked. Yeah, pretty freaking cool. And what's really great is that every single device, number, that has 8 or 7, that includes your Xbox One. And what's really going to be great about that is now you're going to be able to stream your Xbox One games on any device, whether it's a mobile Windows phone or a Surface Pro 3 or your computer or anything else in between. And if it has Windows on it, you'll be able to stream it. So you'll be able to play with a controller on that system wherever you are in the world, and just be able to play your Xbox One. Again, it's this unified operating system. It's pretty cool. They also showed off the ability that on future games, including Fable, you'll be able to go ahead and play against PC users on your Xbox, which is huge. People have been asking for cross-console multiplayer now for a long time. And while this is really, really great, and I think it's long overdue, there's one worry that I have, and it's just the fact that consoles are becoming more like PCs that anyone can build as the generations go by. You know, back in the NES and Super Nintendo and the early stages of 3D, there were complex custom chips, and even if they're made by, you know, ATI, that chipset was specifically meant for that GameCube, or that Sega, or whatever, and it was very much its own product. Nowadays, it's the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, they're pretty much just PCs that any idiot can build. It's just, you know, specific to gaming because of the operating system and the software that it runs. But the more and more and more that they make these things do, the more and more they're basically just PCs at home in your living room. And I wonder now that they'll be able to communicate with PCs, a multiplayer on certain games, and hopefully a lot of games in the future, it kind of begs the question, why not just build a cheaper, more powerful PC, put it in your living room, connect an Xbox controller, and play against Xbox players with the same games? They already said they're going full steam with this, just as like they would with Xbox, and that's coming from Phil Spencer, which means a lot. That's important, and that's huge, and it worries me. As someone who really loves consoles, I worry that I really don't see them needed. As much as I love them, with everything going digital and everything like that, I mean, at the end of the day, they're PCs. I mean, the idea of like a Dreamcast with a top lid where you put the game disc and 4 controller ports and little memory cards and wired controllers, that's the past, man. That's gone. And, you know, anymore, I think in the future, you're not going to have collecting, you know, for some of these systems. There's not going to be half these games available on disc. And I think with it being more integrated with PC, that's the dark side of this, is that we might not have consoles as we know it in the future. But that's to be determined. We don't know. This is a side little point I want to mention. However, I really do like this augmented reality thing that they're working on. I think it completely leapfrogs ahead of anything that Sony, Oculus, i.e. Facebook, or anyone is working on right now, including Google, and I think it's awesome. I think it could completely eradicate the need of a physical television one day, if they made it high resolution enough and it followed your movements enough so it didn't make you sick with things moving around. Like the 3DS's augmented reality is pretty crap. It doesn't really stay where it needs to be. Things are kind of jiggling. It doesn't look like it's part of the world. But this apparently is really good tech, and it's very smart. I could totally see it working. Having the ability to be anywhere and access your PC in a way like that, that's pretty amazing. And frankly, I think it's the best thing since the Surface Pro 3 that we've seen in the world of computing. I think it's the most exciting thing, I should say, not the greatest. Not the most powerful thing. I think it's the most consumer-friendly and fresh and new idea. Let's just put it that way. And I think it's going to be great. One thing about the 3D printing, and this is not something that they talked about, but I really just saying it for me, I really hope that they start making 3D printers that are accessibly accessible for the standard consumer. I really hope that it's like buying a printer at Staples or Walmart, and that they're priced very cheaply here soon. Even if they're really small, even if you can only do like a 5x5 cube, you can do a lot with a 5x5 cube. And I think if they made the software extremely easy to use, and the hardware extremely easy to use, and the price is relatively inexpensive, and you could go to a Best Buy and buy all the components, all the plastic, food, wherever you want to make with it, right there, and it's easily identified. It tells you what this goes with this, and there's no guessing, no engineering, no craziness, no artistic skill needed. I think if they had something like that that paired up with this, I would literally be using those glasses 24 hours a day and just be like making 3D models while sitting on my couch with my fake television up on my white wall and just watching television, moving it if I need to, and making 3D models and then printing them on my 3D printer. You gotta think of the repercussions here, like how amazing this can really be for just gamers and classic gamers like you and me. You could go ahead and disassemble a controller, like a PlayStation 1 controller or a Super Nintendo controller, right? And you could take all the little pieces, like all the buttons and stuff, and scan it with the camera and make a 3D model of it just by scanning it. And then you could print off your own custom buttons, print off your own custom, controller shells, console shells. The possibilities are endless with 3D printing, and it's exciting. And there's no legality involved when you're doing it for your personal use, so it doesn't matter if you're making a Microsoft part by scanning it in, because unless you're going to sell it, then who cares, right? And I really see a lot of potential for this, and I think gaming with augmented reality, getting rid of the television once and for all, that could be a market that just completely puts Microsoft in a whole league. And frankly, if I was a betting man, I'd be betting on Microsoft over Sony right now, and that has nothing to do with console preferences. Right now, Sony can't seem to make an electronic consumer device that's making them money, and as popular, and this has been for the last 7 years or so, as popular as their PlayStation console line, not the portable line, as popular as their PlayStation console line has been, the PlayStation 4 has just been recently shown that despite the fact that they're selling a lot of systems, the amount of games that they're selling on top of the system, per each system, is not necessarily very high, and on most PS4s they're actually losing money because those people aren't buying enough games to offset the costs that they're losing on every single system when they sell it. Which means that Sony doesn't really have much of anything nowadays that's making them actually any money. Their TV division's going to be spun off and sold. The PC, the Vio line is already gone. Who the hell buys a music player from Sony? I use Sony cameras and they're fantastic, but let's face it, that's not a huge money maker. Entry level and mid level DSLRs, that's not how you sustain a company as big as Sony. Their music industry is kind of plummeting right now. Their movie industry is suffering for many reasons, and you all know why. And it just kind of feels like this is all kind of leading to somewhere. I feel like Sony really needs to kind of reinvent themselves, and I want them to. I don't want them to go away. But I really feel like Microsoft is kind of just being really smart recently. The Surface Pro 3, I own it. It's fantastic. It's the most fun I've had with a computer or a tablet ever. It's ingenious how powerful it is for its form factor, and it's ingenious how usable it is. And having everything working on the same operating system that would be able to communicate with glasses like that would work wonders not for just entertainment, but for gaming as well. There might be a dark side to that, of course, like I just mentioned, but, I'm kind of willing to go there. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as traditional consoles, we have them. We have thousands of games to collect for Sega consoles, Nintendo consoles, Atari consoles, etc., etc., etc. And I'm kind of fine with that. I think I'm getting to a point too, personally, where I just kind of stopping caring so much about modern games as I am about classic games. I find that they speak to me less than classic games do, and I don't just mean classic like NES. My favorite era was the mid 90s and the late 90s, the early to mid 3D era, like all the arcades from Sega, all that type of stuff, Daytona USA, Sega Rally, Virtua Fighter, like I loved all of that. It doesn't mean I don't love the 2D stuff, I love the 2D stuff, it's just, I think the Dreamcast was the last system that I really kind of got excited for. And it's the last console that I feel, not that it didn't have any good games, obviously GameCube, PS2, Xbox, I had like shit tons of good games, but the Dreamcast was the last one I truly was like giddy about. And I feel with every single generation it just kind of goes, And I think it's because they're becoming more like little PC boxes. I don't really feel like it's a console so much as it is as a PC that plays games that's hooked up to your television. And as great as that is, on one hand, it's a PC. and these boxes are starting to bleed together. Hopefully these glasses though, these HoloLens glasses from Microsoft will kind of spice things up. And frankly, if any of these headgear devices have any future, Microsoft's it. So that's just my opinion. That's the news for today. I think it's pretty amazing of Microsoft. And even if you don't think it's amazing, it's definitely something to keep, you know, aware of. Something is going to happen with this, something big. And whether you like it or not, it's going to affect computers and gaming as we know it, I think. So it'd be interesting to see where this heads. We still don't know price on the goggles. We still don't know release date. It is coming out this year. We just don't know when. But again, Windows 10 on all devices, including your Xbox One, computers, and mobile, are all free as long as it's 7 and up. So if you have Windows 7 or Windows 8.1 or whatever, you're all good to go. You don't have to worry about compatibility, supposedly. And there really shouldn't be any reason to avoid it unless 10 is a gigantic train wreck. Which, considering how many devices it's going to be integrated with, I really hope it's not. So anyway, this has been a bite-sized episode. Once again, I really appreciate everything. We've been getting subscriptions pretty heavily now since we've been changing our format here. I really appreciate them. Please feel free to rate and comment. It really helps us out, and we'll keep on doing these videos every single day for you guys, and I'll see you next time.